Did I wake up and choose violence yet again? Honestly, y'all should be used to it by this point because I'm ready to go toe-to-toe with rumored perm sporting Prince on this good morning, afternoon, as I'm sure his ex-wife Mayte Garcia would have loved to do all those years ago when her younger years were snatched right from under her. First by her parents, then by the forever androgynous Prince who yearned for her before she could even touch down in adult years. A child prodigy turned Prince Nelson's wife. This is the questionable relationship between Prince Rogers Nelson and Mayte Garcia. An Alabama military base is where Garcia had been hatched. Her father was tasked with steering airplanes for a living, while her mother dove into the entertainment side of things as a dance teacher and stage mother. Following in her mother's footsteps, little Mayte also wanted to become a dancer and made sure to work at it. Achieving her goal of being a belly dancer specifically, she got to show off her talent on the talent competition show That's Incredible in 1981. Being in the military gave her the advantage as well as growing up both in the States and in Germany. And by the time she was in her mid-teens, she was making bank. Around $100K from her dancing contributes. Ever since she could remember, Mayte always told anyone willing to listen that her celeb crushes had been Prince and some other guy that just isn't important to the story. Wanting to get in on the Purple Rain action, Mayte and her relatives attended one of Prince's shows in 1990. But for her mama, that just wouldn't suffice. Mayte's momager wanted her daughter up close and personal to the icon, and after hearing that Prince was coming to Germany on tour, Mayte's mom made her shoot a dance video that would hopefully be presented to Prince backstage at his show via one of his backup dancers. Not too long after, the dancers scurried back to Mayte and her mama, and to their shock, they'd been informed that the Prince wanted to meet Mayte ASAP. Backstage, amidst all the chaos that comes with being backstage at a Prince concert, when the two met, Prince was ecstatic to say the least. "There's no way you're only 16. After confirming that she was in fact 16, Prince took down her number and invited her to his hotel suite that same night, chaperoned by Mama and Sissy Garcia. But once those two dipped, Prince was left alone with just Mayte. Passing time by watching some of her dance videos she'd bought while eating popcorn, Prince sat on the couch, all smiles and warm. As far as we know, that was that. The end of their night, however, wasn't the end of their friendship, because Prince and Mayte grew closer and closer. Late night phone calls and cassettes of some of his unfinished music were sent to Mayte's home. Their relationship, though only a friendship at this point, would become stronger, and Prince even flew to Puerto Rico to spend Christmas break with his newfound friend. VIP and backstage passes often came with the luxury of knowing Prince, and not too long after, he sent Mayte a rather questionable note that said a whole lotta. But what really stuck out was the whole other women being jealous of Mayte because she was a virgin bit. At 17, and given the green light by her parents, Mayte went to live with Prince over at Paisley Park. By 18, she appeared to be living the good life with Prince, who rented out an apartment for her close to his own residence, and surprisingly to literally nobody, the two had begun a romantic relationship. According to Prince himself, he knew Mayte was going to be his when he first ever laid his eyeliner-stained eyes on her, saying, "She was 16, I fell in love." Mayte then would replace Carmen Electra on his Diamonds and Pearls tour. Joining his new Power Generation group, she went on to provide vocals for dozens of tracks, appeared in music videos, and utilized her dance magic on numerous shows and tours. Tension arose in the group. Other members would make fun of her for still having to stuff her bra. Although Prince was her man, he was still her boss as well, and with that relationship came perks and rules Mayte had to follow. Throughout their relationship, she was not allowed to call him. Only he could call her, would monitor her weight, and always made her change whenever she'd show up to rehearsals wearing sweatpants.
Out of that, didn't you?
Yeah, what do I call him? I've never...
He even slashed her pay one time because she had whipped cream and cookies near her vanity set and they weren't even hers. Nevertheless, Prince loved him some Mayte and dedicated his upcoming album to her. His song, "The Most Beautiful Girl in the World," was written just for her. In 1996, the two sealed the deal, getting married in Minneapolis, and Prince, being the spiritual man he is, titled the ceremony Coincidence or Fate. An open casting call for flower girls were held, and Prince believed that he and Mayte met in a past life and would guide her in meditations, where the two would try and reconnect to their past selves. Jetting off to Hawaii for their honeymoon, Mayte got pregnant expeditiously, and the two were excited to welcome little Prince Jr. into the world. Prince even recorded the unborn baby's heartbeat to sample for one of his songs. However, one day, Mayte began to bleed out of the blue. Tests were suggested by doctors who thought perhaps the baby could have some form of dwarfism, but Prince didn't allow it, suggesting that the two pray about it instead. Mayte checked into Abbott Northwestern Hospital in 1996. Going by the alias Mia Gregory, her baby had been delivered via C-section on October 16, 1996. No cries or movements from the baby were detected, and immediately Prince went from overwhelming joy to pure shock and horror as doctors began to work on the baby. Their baby was born without eyelids, eyes out of its sockets, the skull was shaped like a clover leaf, and he also had webbed feet. He'd been diagnosed with an extremely rare mutation, and operations to save his life were in effect ASAP. But as the days went by, his condition had become worse and worse. The two knew they had to let their baby boy go and sign papers to do so. October 23rd was the day life support had been pulled from boy Gregory. Prince and Mayte's alias they'd given their son, but his real name, Amir, meaning prince in Arabic, wouldn't be disclosed until only after Mayte's memoir came out. With the swiftness, newspapers and articles got word that their son had passed. But when asked in interviews, Prince would deny it or downplay it, not giving anyone a direct answer, and would advise Mayte to go along with it. On an appearance on the Oprah show, they continued to act as though baby Amir was still alive, and Mayte says that Prince even gave Oprah a tour of their son's playroom. I can watch it now and see the beauty in it and see how he was really trying to be strong and be positive. At the time, I just remember thinking, just don't say anything that's gonna make me cry. And then Oprah, the way she turns to you, I was just like, oh God, he was my strength at that time. I had to do it for him. Twin nannies were hired prior to baby Amir being born. Erlene and Arlene stated that they cared for the baby round the clock, held him when he died, had him cremated several days later, and helped to cover up his passing by falsifying names and records at Prince's commands. Authorities were alerted thanks to the twins, and I say thanks real loosely because according to the twins, they just couldn't continue on being silent knowing the baby was no longer living. Of course, Prince sued them for violating a confidentiality agreement. A full-blown 3-month investigation ensued, and after everything was said and done, officials determined that baby Amir had been cremated 1 day later, and on his death certificate, only his mother Mayte was listed under the alias Mia, and his race was checked as white. Prince was nowhere listed on the death certificate. In fact, no father was listed at all. No birth certificate was filed until months later in December when a birth certificate was found of a male child with no first name, last name Garcia, to Mayte Garcia Nelson, who refused to give information about the child's father. The death of Amir led Prince to convert into the Jehovah's Witness religion, and in 1997, Mayte got pregnant once again, but miscarried in her second trimester. Upset by the news, Prince began to act closed off toward Mayte and outright ignored her when she told him the devastating news. Still bleeding profusely, Mayte thought it was best for her to go to the hospital in order to remove the lining in her uterus. But Prince said, Prince didn't believe in all that doctor stuff and was one of them leave it up to the Lord type of people, which is fine and dandy. But the Lord utilizes these people to aid the planet, Prince. But to each its own. Mayte went on to do the procedure with Prince absent and suggested adoption, but Prince just wasn't here for it. As time went on, Prince became more and more distant and began telling reporters that his marriage had been annulled. Not just divorced, but annulled, although that couldn't be further from the truth. Just a year later, he'd marry his second wife, Manuela Testolini, after meeting in his Bible study group, and had his assistant get rid of any and everything that was Mayte's or reminded him of her and their deceased son. Mayte claims to have left the marriage with absolutely nothing, but managed to make a name for herself, supporting herself by choreographing and acting. She choreographed Britney Spears' belly dance routine in her hit single, I'm a Slave for You, joined the VH1 series Hollywood Exes in 2012, adopted a baby girl in the following year, and a charity to honor her and Prince's son was revived earlier this year. Prince dealt with his son's death by putting it into his music. His Truth album was heavily inspired by the passing of baby Amir. Some believe that Mayte isn't as innocent as she makes herself appear, and even suggest that she had cheated on Prince during the marriage. How do you feel about Mayte and Prince's relationship? Should those nannies have alerted authorities? Or are you Team Prince because perhaps it was no one's business whether or not his son was alive? Let us know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments, and stay tuned for more true celebrity stories.